Hello everyone, Crystal Fissure here. Today I'm here with a bit of a different video. I'm here to talk about Yooka-Laylee, not the instrument, the new game that has been sort of revealed by Playtonic Games, a studio made from, or constructed from people who used to work at Rare. Some of the pivotal people that worked on, games such as Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, GoldenEye, many series like that, Donkey Kong of course, and basically, this sort of video is to kind of discuss what this means, what a 3D platformer revival could mean, or rather maybe even the likelihood of it happening. And I think that with today's, the Kickstarter I think it was released yesterday, and they've already made £968,000. So if you put that to Australian dollars, it'd be basically nearly 2 million, like 1.78 million US, something like that. Ridiculous. Like it is a lot of money in like one day. 26,000 backers, and the announcement of this game, and actually they've made some more. I'm actually looking at the Kickstarter now, but the announcement of this game is quite interesting because, judging by the fact that it's got quite a lot of attention, like on the the mainstream sort of gaming publications and stuff like that, and also a few other games that are being released later on, like in the next few years, it does seem to suggest that there still is a market for 3D platformers. That's what I mainly want to say. Obviously, if you're subscribed to my channel, you know that I really enjoy 3D platformers, Spyro, Crash, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Ape Escape. Really any game like that. That's the sort of stuff I like. But then all of a sudden, I'd say, around probably the mid 2000s, it started to sort of dip. It started to sort of fade away. I guess the audience got a little bit older. Gaming became much more of an industry, kind of driven by profit, and obviously everything is about profit in some ways, but those small development teams, they practically don't exist anymore, except for what they would deem a game to be indie, because it's all about production values and stuff like that. My good friend Johnny Natrium on YouTube, he's quite critical of sort of modern games, and I am as well. Like, I'm not hating on sort of games like The Last of Us and Uncharted and war games and stuff like that, shooters, but to me, just like 3D platformers kind of got overexposed in the late 90s, kind of 2000s, when everyone was making one, I feel like the overexposure of shooters and kind of violent games like MA, sort of R-rated games, to me, I find them even more tiring than a platformer could be, because no matter how good a shooter is, to me, it still just feels like a shooter at the end of the day. Oh, there we go, they've just hit 27,000 backers. By the time this is up, probably be even more. It's ridiculous what's happening right now. But anyway, my point is that, like, to me, it just seems as if, so many studios, they know that these sort of games most likely make a profit, right? And so they've done that. But now, we fast forward to 2015, and we're starting to see that with this Kickstarter alone, we can see that people want more 3D platformers. They want more adventure games. They want games that are not just aimed at children and not just aimed at sort of adults. They want a middle ground. I mean, Spyro the Dragon, to me, the original 3, that is the perfect example of a middle ground game where, like, kids can enjoy it, but so can adults. There's a challenge, there's a fun world, there's good music, there's an environment, there's an atmosphere. And see, to me as well, it seems as if in today's sort of gaming climate, there's two things. There's the games for the children, the young kids on the Wii U, basically, and then there's the game for the adults, the violence or stuff like that. And they just assume that these two audiences only want, what is sort of given to them, what has been given to them for years. The adults always want the violence, the gore, the women, and the sort of that sort of thing, and the kids just want kind of really sort of colourful sort of stuff like that. And obviously, I'm more of a fan of the sort of the colourful stuff. But I also can see the merit of having like a more sort of drab sort of colour scheme and stuff like that anyway, that's kind of a bit of a tangent there. But I think the point is that there's this, it seems like the market is like, it's split into two now, and that middle ground that existed with Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, that's a big one as well. Jak and Daxter, specifically 2 and 3, is a huge example of that, where it's kind of like this teen sort of middle ground audience. Those games no longer exist, and now that we're seeing, this ukulele, which by the way looks quite awesome, there's been a trailer released and stuff like that, like a little kind of thing with the music being done by, I think, Grant Kirkhope, I think his name is. He did the old banjo soundtracks and stuff like that. Just we're seeing, this additional sort of emphasis now, again, like almost placed on video game music too. That's another thing. Like another thing that's kind of faded away over the years is video game music, and now we're seeing that this game, like, they're really pushing the fact that it's done by the original people. So not only do we have Yooka-Laylee, but we also have a game called A Hat in Time. That's another 3D platform that got quite a large following through Kickstarter and stuff like that. That game is not released yet, but I'm pretty sure there's a playable alpha or beta, something like that, beta version out there. I'm pretty sure there's another game called Lobo Destroyo, which is another 3D platform. These are probably smaller scale than Playtonic Games Yooka-Laylee, but still they're existing. And then of course, my friend, we've got Dinosaur.Bytes, that's where he goes by, or Rob. He's got a game called Clive and Wrench coming out, which is, he's a one-man team. But you see that there is interest in these games if you look in the comment sections and stuff like that. You've got Crash Bandicoot Crystal's Wrath. That's a Crash Bandicoot fan game. I mean, Activision won't even make a Crash Bandicoot game. They cancelled about 3 or 4 of them. They won't even make them. So people got so desperate that they're creating their own fan games for it. Now, of course, they happen with Chrono Trigger and stuff like that, even though that was making a shitload of money. But the point is that, like, when that happens, now, this is with all due respect to them, and I think that their game is going to be awesome, but when that happens, you just see that it's utterly pathetic that, that they can't, that Activision actually can't see that there's money to be made with Crash Bandicoot and sort of platformers. Like, they're so adamant that basically nothing else is going to succeed but gritty adult games, that they will cancel Crash Bandicoot reboots and stuff like that, not give them back to Sony, not do anything with the IP, just let it die, so then they have to be fan games. Now, by the way, this fan game should be pretty cool, actually. Like, I'll put links to all this sort of stuff in the description, but what I'm trying to say is that with all of these things now being announced, will this attract bigger companies to now look at this and go, wow, Yooka-Laylee's made $2 million US, in a few days. That's how I'm assuming it will get to. Probably keep going beyond that. It's made that much money, all from the fans' pockets, essentially. It's made that much money. Could it now be, smart, from a business sense, to make more of these games? And I think my answer is now. If you asked me maybe 3-4 months ago, even with a few of those smaller games coming out, or being worked on, I still would have said, I don't know. I think they're still skeptical. But this one, Yooka-Laylee, right here, this sort of boy-girl duo, a chameleon and a bat, I think honestly they are the catalyst which will show you that people want these games again. They want to play 3D platformers. They're getting sick and tired of the 26th Call of Duty, because there's only so many environments you can make that look drab and kind of emotionless, as opposed to some sort of beautiful worlds of Spyro the Dragon, Ape Escape, Crash Bandicoot, Banjo-Kazooie, that kind of thing. Like, people miss it. I really do think people miss it. And I mean, the success of my own YouTube channel on a small scale with 8 or so thousand subscribers, to me that does actually show that people do want to watch this kind of content. They want to watch 3D platforms. They want to watch adventure. If I did a Let's Play of perhaps Call of Duty, I don't think anyone would watch. I think it would be really a complete failure. I think people would not be here to watch that. They're not here to watch me play shooters. They're here to watch me play games that, they played as a child. And that whole market, that nostalgia market, I mean, it exists. I mean, you got Twin Peaks coming back as a TV show. You've got the X-Files coming back. We got TV shows that kind of push that whole thing as well. So it is honestly just really impressive. As to what's going on right now, like this kind of resurgence and this nostalgia sort of market almost. And obviously, like, too much nostalgia, if you know what I mean, like too much of it can be a little bit sort of weird, or like a bit too much, or overkill or something like that. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. But having sort of stuff like that to remind you of why you enjoyed it and stuff, and all that kind of stuff, that's good. Having a bit of nostalgia like that and using it to kind of think, well, you know, how could we turn this just nostalgia into be some kind of new experience for gamers and stuff like that. That's what I think is in the process of happening. So obviously go check out the Kickstarter, have a look at the game. Of course, Yooka-Laylee Banjo-Kazooie, that's kind of the name is, like, you know, basically similar concept. And you know, could we see a new Spyro game? Could Spyro separate from Skylanders, to tie that back into what I do on my channel a lot with Spyro stuff? You never know. We could definitely see an announcement of Crash Bandicoot. I think that the industry is going to be looking at this game and they're going to be thinking, shit, we've got to get on this again. Because, you know, everything kind of works in cycles at the end of the day. I mean, fashion, you know, what they were wearing in the 70s is now being worn now. You know, wrestling kind of, you know, had like these different boom periods. I think we're on a wrestling boom, probably independent wrestling. We're in a wrestling boom, you know, not WWE to nitpick there. But yeah, you know, we've got, you know, music sort of styles, you know, sort of changing and sort of, you know, coming back, and, you know, the return of sort of things like that. And I think that, yeah, I think it applies to video games. I think we could be due for another platforming boom. But until then, you know, we'll stay tuned. Check out all these games that I've talked about. Check them in the description if you haven't heard of them yet. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. I shall see you in another video. Goodbye.